Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are going way past the glossy marketing claims and into the real foundation of quality cosmetic products, good manufacturing practices, or GMP. So if you're curious about scaling a brand or securing consumer safety, or maybe you just want to know how that foundation you love keeps its color and consistency, batch after batch, this is your blueprint. We're not looking at boring compliance here. This is the architecture of trust.
It really is. It's the ultimate backstage pass. Our source material today is a really comprehensive guide to global standards, quality control, and compliance. And the key thing is, it anchors everything to ISO 22016P, that's the international standard for cosmetic GMP, but it also brings in all the regional norms.
And our mission for this deep dive is, I think, pretty simple: to stop thinking of GMP as just some government-mandated checklist.
Yes.
And instead uncover the universal principles that let manufacturers deliver safe, high-quality products no matter where they are.
Precisely. That checklist mentality is, well, it's the biggest mistake people make. GMP is defined here as a living system of risk-based controls. It's designed to flex.
Right.
So if you're a startup with 2 products, your system looks pretty manageable.
Yeah.
But if you're a global player with, 200 SKUs and a dozen different manufacturers, your system has to adapt to that complexity.
So a truly resilient system comes down to what? Validated processes, airtight quality management, and maybe obsessive supplier controls.
You've got it. That's the trifecta.
Okay, so every system needs a brain, a backbone. In manufacturing, that's the quality management system, or QMS. This is where all the planning happens. Your documented policies, risk management, how you handle deviations, all of it. But let's be honest, modern cosmetics, especially in private label worlds, they live or die on their data.
And if you can't trust your numbers, you can't trust your product. It's that simple. The integrity of your records is always the weakest link, which is why we have to talk about the bedrock standard for data integrity, LCOA plus SLAP board.
LCOA plus SNAP.
Yeah, this framework basically ensures that every single piece of data, whether it's on paper or digital, is trustworthy and, completely auditable.
I like that this gives us a specific language for what trust even means in this context. So let's break down those first 5 letters, ALCOA.
Okay, so the core 5. First, attributable. You have to know who did something and when. Second is legible. It's got to be clear, permanent, readable years from now.
Right.
Third, contemporary. This one's huge. It means you record the data the exact moment the work happens, not hours later. Fourth is original. It's the first record. Or certified true copy. And finally, accurate. It reflects what really happened. No edits, no fudging the numbers.
Contemporary seems like it would be the hardest one to enforce in a busy lab. Why is recording it right then so critical?
Because timing establishes causality. I mean, think about it. If a mixer breaks and the tech records the temperature 3 hours later from memory, we have no idea if a temperature spike actually caused the failure.
Oh, okay.
Contemporary records they eliminate all those gaps of uncertainty.
Got it. So that's ALCOA. The plus sign, that must be about what happens to the data after it's been generated, right?
Exactly. The plus sign is about the data's life cycle. It has to be complete, so all the fields are filled in, consistent across different records, enduring, so it survives long-term storage, which is obviously critical for shelf life, and finally, available when you need it, which means good security and backups. And here's the key insight for you from our sources. When your data tells that trusted ALCOA plus story, all the way from raw material to final package, you get this huge competitive edge, especially in private label.
A competitive edge? How so? I mean, that sounds expensive to implement. Is this really justifiable for anyone but the huge multinational brands?
Oh, absolutely. For private label clients, speed and confidence are everything. If a potential client comes to audit your facility and your QMS can just instantly pull up these perfect validated LCOA plus records.
You don't have to spend weeks digging.
Exactly. You skip weeks of due diligence. Trusted data transfers trust. Immediately, it streamlines everything and proves your ingredient claims without any friction. That is absolutely worth paying for.
That data integrity is essential, but the rules of the game, they really change depending on where you are in the world. So let's look at the 2 big approaches, Europe versus the United States.
What's fascinating here is the difference in sort of the core philosophy. The EU model, which is guided by Regulation 1233/2009, is fundamentally proactive. It's prevention-focused.
Prevention-focused? What do you mean by that?
I mean, the system is designed to stop a quality problem before it can ever happen. eGMP is all about designing processes and vetting suppliers so meticulously that a product failure becomes structurally difficult. So inspection is going to focus heavily on your documented procedures, your traceability, and how well you handle complaints. It's about building safety into the factory's DNA.
All right, now let's cross the Atlantic to the U.S. Our sources make a really crucial distinction here. The FDA, they definitely want a preventive quality mindset, but there isn't a single codified nationwide CGMP regulation for cosmetics like there is for drugs. That just feels like a massive gap.
It does feel like one, but the market has adapted. There's a regulatory affairs practitioner quoted in our source who they summarized it perfectly. In the U.S., cosmetics GMP is, and I'm quoting, best understood as a strong quality system benchmark rather than a fixed regulatory rule.
A benchmark, not a rule.
Right. So manufacturers implement the spirit of GMP, often using that same ISO standard because, well, they have to.
So even though it's not a specific federal law, the enforcement mechanism kind of forces compliance anyway.
Exactly. The FDA's power comes from going after adulterated or misbranded products under the FD&C Act. So if you ship a product that's contaminated or mislabeled, you're going to face serious action. Seizure, recall, the works.
Which means if you don't have that robust internal quality system, your validation, your change control, you are just dramatically increasing your risk of producing an adulterated product and getting hit with that enforcement.
Precisely. Adopting those GMP practices isn't really optional. It's self-preservation.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly. Since the integrity of the whole system is so important, let's get into the technical side, the proactive safeguards that make manufacturing predictable and repeatable.
Yeah, this is where the rubber meets the road. This section is all about technical proof, which is qualification and validation. We use this framework, IQ-OQ-PQ, to ensure that equipment, utilities, even your software, all perform exactly as they're supposed to.
And this isn't a one-time check.
Not at all. It's a continuous discipline.
Let's use an example. Say we just installed a brand new, super complex automatic filling machine. It's for a thick, pigmented foundation. How does IQ-OQ-PQ prove that machine is ready to go?
Perfect example. So IQ, installation qualification, comes first. This is just verifying with documentation that the filler was installed correctly. Power is hooked up right, you got the manual, sensors are calibrated, it physically matches what you ordered.
The basics.
The basics. Next up is OQ, or operational qualification. Here, you're testing the machine without any product in it. You push it to its defined limits. Does the piston dose correctly at top speed? Does the heat control hold steady at the max setting? You're confirming the machine works, but only the machine itself.
And then comes the big one, PQ.
Right, PQ, performance qualification. This is where we bring in that thick, pigmented foundation. Now you have to demonstrate that the entire process, the machine, the product, the environment, your operators, consistently produces a product that meets every single quality spec.
So like production scale trials.
Exactly. You're often running 3 successful batches in a row just to prove that the process is repeatable under totally normal conditions.
That makes so much more sense than just listing definitions. And we learned earlier this validation also applies to our data systems, right? The software for formulations and batch records.
Oh, absolutely. Those systems have to be validated to protect your LLCOA plus data. You need ironclad security, clear audit trails, access controls. The digital platform has to be as reliable as the steel on the factory floor.
Okay, moving from the machines to the room itself, let's talk about the quiet guardian of batch consistency, cleaning and environmental monitoring.
Cleaning validation is so critical because you have to control carryover. Imagine you're making a batch of, say, super glittery dark purple lipstick.
Right.
And the very next product on that line is a sheer, clean label moisturizer. You have to prove empirically that every single trace of that first product is gone before you start the second.
And the source mentioned validating against matrix challenges. What does that mean?
It means cleaning isn't one size fits all. You have to validate your cleaning agents against the toughest things you make. You know, the heavy waxes, dense powders, oily foundations. Because if your process can remove that worst-case scenario, it can handle everything else.
Makes sense.
And meanwhile, you have environmental monitoring, or EM, which is tracking the microbial load in the air and on surfaces with swabs and air samples. This is non-negotiable for water-based products and, well, doubly critical for organic or natural formulas that don't have strong synthetic preservatives.
So once the product is made and packaged, the last technical safeguard is testing its durability.
That's preservative efficacy testing, or PET. This is where your formulation science really meets reality. PET evaluates if the preservative system can protect the product from microbial growth, even when it's deliberately challenged. I mean, we literally inoculate it with microbes.
Wow. The stakes there sound incredibly high. If PE fails, the product fails.
That's it. If the PE versus she results are poor, you can't assign a safe shelf life. You have to go back and reformulate. It's the final technical gate.
So quality is only as strong as its weakest link, which in today's world is often the supply chain. How do GMP systems manage all those external partners and internal changes without losing control?
It all starts with a really robust supplier qualification and vendor management program. You just can't afford to trust a certificate of analysis or COA at face value. It has to be a risk-based program that includes on-site audits, rigorous COA review, and ongoing monitoring with, say, performance scorecards.
So what's the real difference between just collecting a COA and running a full qualification program?
A COA is just a snapshot in time. A qualification program is continuous monitoring. You're verifying that your supplier's GMP systems are actually compatible with yours. This trusted network is the backbone of traceability, which you need for all those clean label claims.
And speaking of changes, you can't run a business without updating things. But in a GMP world, you can't just swap out a part on the fly.
No, you can't. And that brings us to change control. This is the formal process for evaluating and documenting any modification. If you swap a pump, change a temperature, alter a fragrance, you have to initiate a formal change control. And that includes a risk assessment and getting cross-functional approval. You need R&D, quality, and engineering to all sign off just to make sure that one little change doesn't cause a huge problem down the line.
And then when something does go wrong, a sensor fails, a batch is off spec. That's when you trigger corrective and preventive action.
KPA is where you truly learn. It's not just about fixing the broken sensor. It's about investigating the root cause. Why did it fail? Was it maintenance? Training? Was the part just old? You implement a fix, and then critically you measure its effectiveness to make sure it never happens again.
Right. And the ultimate proof of a resilient system is how it handles a real failure. We're talking about recall readiness.
And that readiness has to be proactive. The core tool is lot traceability, which links every single unit of product all the way back to the raw materials it was made from.
So you know exactly which units went where.
Instantly. And a good recall plan outlines everyone's roles and communication strategies. But the most important part, you have to run regular mock recalls, practice drills. You have to test the plan to make sure it actually works before you're in a real crisis.
Okay, we've built the system, secured the data, managed the supply chain, but GMP isn't static. It's integrating with huge market forces like sustainability and digital transformation. Let's look at what's next.
The link between GMP and sustainability is now direct. As brands switch to recyclable or post-consumer content for packaging, they face a new GMP challenge, ensuring that new material maintains packaging integrity.
Because the package is the product's last line of defense. If I switch to a thin recycled plastic, it might look great, but what if it lets moisture in or degrades the preservatives?
Exactly. Our source points out that you have to validate that new packaging material just as rigorously as you'd validate a machine. Does it protect the formula for the entire shelf life? If not, the product is adulterated no matter how green it is.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me. Digital transformation. We're talking 2025 forward practices, specifically things like AI-enabled anomaly detection. How does AI actually stop a bad batch from going out?
It shrinks prevention time from hours to seconds. AI can watch real-time data from every sensor temperature, pH, viscosity. It can spot subtle patterns a human operator would miss, like a temperature that's still in spec, but it's trending towards failure based on historical data.
So it flags it before it's even a real problem.
Instantly. It allows for faster intervention, which prevents the batch from ever becoming off-spec. You get faster GPA, quicker release decisions. It's pairing human expertise with intelligent automation.
And driving all of this is end-to-end visibility through serialization.
Yeah, serialization, often using GS1 standards and 2D barcodes, gives you visibility from the raw material all the way to the consumer's hand. For brands built on organic or clean label stories, where provenance is everything, this instant traceability is a massive competitive advantage. You don't just claim it, you prove it with an unbroken digital chain. The future of GMP in cosmetics is, really, it's a digital, risk-informed system that's agile enough to handle new trends while staying resilient.
What a fantastic deep dive. If you want to be truly well-informed on cosmetic manufacturing, remember this. GMP isn't a checklist. It's a resilient, trustworthy system built on 3 core pillars. First, quality data integrity using that ALCOA Plus framework. Second, validated processes confirmed by that 3-stage IQO-QPQ sequence. And third, rigorous management of your suppliers and internal changes through change control and CAPIA.
That system of transparency and proof is really the key takeaway. But let me leave you with one final thought to reflect on. If digital transformation and serialization provide near-perfect, instant traceability, meaning any failure, from contamination to an ethical sourcing claim, is instantly attributable right back to its source. Does the greatest future challenge for cosmetic manufacturers shift from just proving compliance to demonstrating absolute ethical and sustainable sourcing transparency in real time?
Food for thought indeed. How much transparency is the consumer and the supply chain truly ready for? Thank you for joining us for the deep dive. We'll see you next time.